delicious, mouth-watering chicken with red wine, or, as they say in France, a coq au vin. Bonjour, this is Cooking Fabulously, the channel that puts more fun and fabulousness into French food. I'm Andrew Pryor, and my food, well, it's a little bit like me. Might not look pretty, but it sure does taste good. First up, we're going to need to make a stock, and for that I've got 12 chicken rings in the oven. I've had them heating in the oven and browning at around about 200 degrees Celsius. It's at 390 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes. And just to create our bouquet garni, my leek's just here, and I've kept aside a good chive. Just within them, I'm going to put some of my dried thyme, some of parsley and a bay leaf, some extra chives, wrap that up in our leek. And with the chive that I set aside, I'm just going to tie in a knot. Well, sort of tie a knot. Well, apparently I'm not going to tie a knot. No, that one didn't work. All right, well, we'll just put that back in there and we'll try this one. You don't want to go too tight. Voila, I think I did it. Yes. Maybe we'll just take it over this way. Shall I risk it? So I do another one here. Just to sort of, voila. Oh yes, I think I did it. Great. There we have a bouquet garni. So on a medium to high heat in a stock pot, we want to add our olive oil, bit of a swirl around. And we want to pop in our heads of garlic, bottom side down, just to give them a bit of extra flavour. So you've got a bit of colour on those onions, and you hear that sound. It's the onion saying, don't cook me too much, don't cook me too much. Ah, poor onion. I'll just take you over, there you go. Rightio, now you want to add your chicken pieces. And then you just want to add the rest of your ingredients. Roughly chopped onion, the carrot, the celery, a leek, a bouquet garni. And then we'll pour in 2 litres of filtered water. I always use filtered water whenever I'm cooking, so just bring that up to a boil. So once that comes to a boil, you want to get a lovely facial from the steam. We love a chicken stock facial. Wait till it's finished, it'll be even better. Pop the lid on, reduce the heat down, just to a medium high, and we'll just let that simmer away for an hour. It's happy. And whilst this is simmering away for an hour, we'll get the other ingredients prepped and ready for our coq au vin. I've got 12 shallots, or you could use pearl onions, which I peeled. The peeling process is simple. You just get a pan of boiling water, then you add your shallots to that pan of boiling water, and then leave it in there for a minute. Then you take them out, pop them into some cold water, and then you can quite easily remove the onions from their skins. A lot of recipes want you to go out and get a whole chook and chop it all up. But I find with a whole chook, the breast is just a bit too tough with a coq au vin. And I mean, that's the point of the dish. In the olden days, it was actually a rooster, hence cock, that was used, pardon the expression, in a coq au vin. Because the rooster was a bit old and needed a long time to braise. But these days, we use chicken. It doesn't need as long to braise. So I prefer to use chicken pieces. I use the wings in the stock, like I did, and I've got four, although I wouldn't mind Thor at the moment, because we're in lockdown. So, you know, being in lockdown with Chris Hemsworth would be kind of nice, but getting back to the recipe. I've got 4 chicken drumsticks and 4 chicken thighs. We want to heat our fry pan on a medium-high heat. Whilst we're getting that heating, have you liked this video? If you haven't, then press the like button. Share me around with your friends. I love to be shared around, don't we all? And if you're new to Cooking Fabulously, why don't you hit the subscribe button with the bell notification just right beside it. That way you'll get an email every time I release a new video. And look, who wouldn't want that? I know I would if I was watching. We want to add 1 tablespoon of our olive oil and also 25 grams of our unsalted butter. And then we're going to add our chicken pieces. Just be careful, it might splatter a little bit. Skin side down for the thighs. And if your pan's not big enough and you have to do them in batches, you can do them in batches as well. And we're just going to cook that for about 5 minutes on each side, or until you've got enough colour on each side. Interestingly, when I was researching about coq au vin, I found out that there's more than just coq au vin as we know it, cooked with a red wine, usually a Burgundy wine. But what if you can't get Burgundy wine? What can you do? Well, you can use any full-bodied red wine. But in other regions of France, they also use white wine, they use beer, and they also use cider. So it depends on where you're from as to what your coq au vin is made out of. Now, of course, it's not called a coq au vin if it's not made out of red wine. It's called something else. But the premise of the dish is about the same. It's still a coq with a bit something else added. Once the chicken pieces are brown on each side, just turn it down to about medium heat and grab a plate and just take them out of the fry pan for now. They're going to return soon, so don't worry. They'll be okay. Now in that pan, you want to leave all that lovely fat. There's 2 really important things that give flavour to this dish. One is the full-bodied red wine, because we all love a full body. And the other is fat. Fat equals flavour. I've been telling myself that for years. Okay, so in that fat, you want to add your onion. And your carrot and celery. And just give them a bit of a stir around. And remove any of that goodness on the bottom of the pan. If it doesn't come off now, don't worry, because it will come off when we add the cognac. But for now, it seems to be coming up a treat, which is great. So we just want to cook the onions, carrot and celery until they're translucent. Add your salt and pepper. Give that a good stir in. Add our cognac. And then stepping back, we want to get our flame ready. And then we just want to, voila, turn that off, because safety is of the most importance. No need to call the fire brigade. Although, have you seen the fire brigade in France? Sometimes, you know, you might accidentally need one to pop pie. Oh, sorry, I can't get into my house. Can you help, please, Mr. Fireman? We just want to let that cook just like 10-15 seconds, not too much at all. You don't want to frighten anybody that might be coming past the kitchen and the whole thing's going up in flames. You also don't want to burn the onion and carrots. You just want to get rid of the alcohol in the cognac, but keep the flavour. Once that's done, add your tomato paste. Give that a good stir in. With the tomato paste, you want to cook it out. Bring our chicken back to the pan. Just place them in there, in between the onions and carrots. This has got the juices from what the chicken was on. You want that to go back in here. That is also flavour. I'm going to add our sprigs of thyme, our crushed garlic cloves, the bay leaf, and then our 600 mils of wine. Whoops, spilt a little bit all over the place, so you should usually do it a little bit more carefully. And our 350 mils of chicken stock that we made earlier. That's covered the chicken, so there's no need to add any more. So with that extra chicken stock, you can just freeze that for another day. You just want to put that up on a high heat and bring it to the boil. And then once it's come to the boil, then reduce it down to a medium for it to simmer and pop the lid on and leave it for 45 minutes. Just set my timer for 45 minutes. Now, whilst that's cooking away, we're going to get on to our bacon, onions and mushrooms. So I've got here a non-stick fry pan, just on a medium heat. And to that, I'm going to add my bacon lardons. No oil, no nothing, just a non-stick pan. Try to get bacon that is not too fatty. You want some fat to release from it, but I prefer in a coq au vin anyway to get a bit more of a meaty lardon taste. As they come up to the heat, some of that fat's going to render out. There's not a lot of fat in them, but some of the fat's going to render out. And that's going to give us a base to start to cook our onions and mushrooms. So once we've got a bit of colour on them, just turn them around. I just like to take a bit of care with my bacon. So once you've got a bit of colour on all sides, just remove them and place them onto a plate that I've got here that's got some absorbent paper on it. Just be careful. We don't want to lose, we don't want to lose all that goodness and fat inside the pan there. We want to keep that. Add in a little bit of butter and the remainder of our oil. That'll help the butter not to burn. And then add in our shallots. Making sure you just move the pan around every now and then, but just so that you get colour on all of the onions. Don't worry if you think there's too much fat in those onions. Again, fat in this dish is all about flavour. But once we put those mushrooms into these onions, with all that fat, the mushrooms are just going to soak them all up. After about 5 minutes, you want to add your mushrooms. I like to place them the top side down. And already they've soaked up some of that delicious fat. Already. Didn't take long, they've only been in there a minute. Turn them around, getting a lovely bit of flavour on the top of those mushrooms there. Turn them around. Just going to cook it for a couple of minutes on that side of the mushrooms and then they will be done. We don't want them overly cooked. Whilst our coq au vin's cooking though, we're just going to add our remaining 25 grams of butter into a bowl with our remaining 25 grams of all-purpose flour. You want to mix the butter in with the flour. I probably should have used a bigger bowl or gotten smaller fingers. Rightio, that's done. That's our timer. Ready for a coq au vin facial? It smells amazing. You get the aroma of the thyme, the chicken, the red wine, the stock even. It's just divine. Of course, I can't see a thing. Turn the heat down low for a minute and remove the chicken pieces to a plate. You can also remove the herbs if you see them. That's not that important because we're going to just strain this mixture, but that looks divine. I'm just taking my spider and just removing some of that onion, carrot, celery, the garlic cloves and the herbs. And then bring this back up to heat, medium-high heat. Grab our butter and flour mixture and then just add that to our sauce here and give it a good whisk. And when it comes to the boil, the butter and flour will start to thicken the sauce. You just want to test your sauce for seasoning. So, just give it a good blow. I think just a little bit pepper for me. And just a touch more salt. Rightio, now we want to add our chicken back in. Plus the juices that have come out there. So that's all flavour. We don't want to lose that. And then we just want to baste the chicken with the sauce. We want to add our bacon pieces, sprinkle them all over, and our mushrooms and onions. They're all snuggled in. Ready to put the lid back on. And then we'll just let that simmer away for 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to put a bit of boiling water on and pop some pasta on. Traditionally in France, you'd serve your coq au vin with a nice egg pasta. So I've got some lovely tagliatelle that I'm going to do that with, and chop up some fresh parsley to sprinkle on top when it's all done. Into a bowl. Whoops. Our chicken, well, it's done and looks fabulous. So we'll just plate that up on a nice platter. With a spoon, we'll get those delicious onions, bacon, and mushrooms. And then the sauce, and pour it all over our coq au vin. Just sprinkle over some parsley and we are done. There you go, my delicious MasterChef dish of the day, coq au vin. Or as we say in Australia, chicken with red wine. Bon appetit!